Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Tejas here from Aussizz Group based in Adelaide. This video or this quick live session is going to be about yesterday's announcement on further migration allocations for 2021-22 financial year. We'll be discussing about different visa programs, how this allocation will impact you for your PR process if you're planning to apply for your PR in 2021-22. We'll be discussing about the allocation in the skill migration as well as family stream. We'll also touch base on different state allocations and potential updates from the states as well. I've got with me Vaibhav from Sydney. He's a registered migration agent based in Sydney and also a director of Sydney office. Welcome, Vaibhav. So we're covering up quickly on different planning levels and obviously the state allocations and all those details. So if you would like to share some info about yesterday's allocation details for this financial year, obviously being first week of July, we'll be hearing a lot of new updates from different states and territories about the migration program. So if you want to quickly go through some of the updates you have.
Sure, Tejas. So welcome everyone. My name is Vaibhav, as Tejas introduced, and welcome to the new financial year, and with a new ray of hope that everybody will be able to secure their permanent visa in this financial year. Now, the planning level for this financial year is pretty much same as the last year, where the total number of visas allocated is 160,000. Now, if you go by categories, employer sponsorship visas, such as 186 visa, the total allocation for those visas are 22,000. Now, this does not include the 482 visas, by the way. So there are separate allocations for the 482, which comes under the temporary visa. So this is all planning levels are for all permanent visas only. So which is really good news because employer sponsorship visas are going to get a really good priority. So if you do have an employer, it's a really good, and if you do meet the criteria for employer sponsorship visas, such as even you can apply under retail managers, petrol stations, subway, or like any food chains, like or any pizza shops as well. So you can apply for an employer sponsorship visas under 494 in the regional area under these categories. If you are in metropolitan area and if your occupation is on a medium and long-term list, you can also go for an employer sponsorship visas under 186 category. Second allocation is for a skill independent visa, which is total 6,500, same as the last 1 year. That means that the invitation round will also happen only every 3 months, that means quarterly. So we are expecting to have an invitation round conducted on 21st of July, first round, and then the second one probably will happen in October sometime, and then January, and then April next year. Now, regional visas, total allocation is 11,200 for a regional visa, which is the state nominated 491 visa, which is also a good number because, with the regional state nomination, if you move to regional area, you're definitely backing up with the state nomination programs and helping the regional economy. So I'm sure that it's going to be a really good program as well for applicants who are looking to relocate to regional areas. We will soon discuss about the state nomination, which state you should go to, because different states have different allocations, and depending on that, you should choose wisely. The next one is the state nomination, which is subclass 190 visa. That also has 11,200, which is again a good number. And I'm sure that a lot of people will be able to secure a permanent visa in this financial year through this program as well. Business innovation and investment programs. So if you do have a business history in Australia or overseas, and if you have roughly, if you can show a net personal and business assets of 1.5 million, and you could apply for a business innovation and investment programs where the total allocation is 13,500, which is a good number again. So you still have a very good hope. If you do have a business, definitely look into this option as well. Global talent visa, graduates who are working and who are highly professional, highly skilled graduates, and who have completed PhD, very talented people working in the professions as well. There are certain sectors that the department has announced. If you fall under those sectors, you could apply for a global talent visa as well. But you need to make sure that you're a highly talented person. You can show that, and you can show that you're earning 153,600, or you have a potential to earn this amount. Total allocation for this visa program is 15,000 as well. The next program is distinguished talent visa. So people who do not qualify for a global talent, they can still apply for a distinguished talent visa if they have, again, they're able to prove a highly, they're highly skilled people. So there is an allocation of 200 visas in that one. So total skill category comes around 79,600 visas out of 160,000 visas. Second cohort of the program, where most of the family streams.
Before we move on to family stream, Vaibhav, I'll just quickly go through and explain to our new viewers who recently joined what we are discussing. So basically, we are just discussing mainly about the planning levels for this financial year for different visas, and we'll be touching base on different state allocations and how it's going to be impacting you if you're going to apply for your 190 or 491 visa in this financial year 2021-22. And before we obviously go on to the family stream, just coming back to the 189 program for this financial year, the skill independent 6,500 allocation. What's your prediction on this particular program? Because I know a lot of applicants has still got a high hopes that with 90 points, 95 points, or 100 points in some of the occupation, they might be expecting invite for a 189 program. So do you have any recommendation to any of your viewers?
Sure. So on a positive note, Tejas, I think in 189 visa, because the 6,500 visas are not that much, but at the same time, if you think positively, yes, there are definitely hopes, but it really depends, because in last 1 year, department has not really been consistent with one particular occupation. They have prioritized a lot of engineering occupations in last couple of invites as well. Out of last 4 invites or so, they had actually prioritized 2 or 3 invitations round just for engineering occupations. So what I think is, if yes, there is still hope, but not for everyone. It will really depend on what sort of occupations the department will select in this round and in this entire financial year. But again, looking at the past history, if I predict it, I would say engineers would be in a very good position to say yes. If you have 90 points or so, your chances of getting an invite is very good as well. And if you see the current skill select data as of April 2021, most of the people are sitting at 85 or 90 points only. So if you do have these points, your hope is still very good in 189 as well. But at the same time, you should plan for a state nomination, because there are 11,200 seats in that one as well.
Yep. Thanks, Vaibhav. So yeah, we can go on and discuss about the family allocation.
Sure. Now with the family streams, the first visa is partner visa, which has the maximum allocation in the entire planning level, which is 72,300 visas. So that really means that the processing time for a partner visa will really go down, because there are a lot of allocations. Last year as well, there was 72,000 visas allocated. This year is as well as 72,000 allocation for a partner visa, which really means that it is going to reduce the processing time for a partner visa. It's a good news for people who have applied for their partner visa. Maybe they're waiting for their partners to come down from overseas. Even the processing time we have seen in last 6 months or 12 months that the processing time has gone down a lot. So I'm sure that the partner visa would be a really good option for people who are in a relationship with an Australian citizen or a permanent resident. Or if you are an Australian citizen or permanent resident and you want to bring your partner from overseas, this is a really good time to apply. So definitely look into that as well. Now, parent visa as well. Now the allocations is 4,500. Now, considering current situation, we have really seen that there are a lot of people interested in applying for a parent visa, especially the contributory parent visa. So if you do really want to bring your parents to Australia on a permanent visa, the 4,500 allocations on the parent visa will really help you. The processing time right now for a parent visa under contributory category, subclass 143, is approximately 5 to 6 years. So, but that's still not too bad compared to the non-contributory parent visa, where the processing time is up to 30 years. The next category is other category, which is other family category, which is only having 500 allocations, which includes carer visas, includes remaining relative visas, and all those ones. With that kind of visas, as I said, if you have a family members who really needs the care, or if you are a person who really needs the care and your family or immediate family is not able to provide care, but you have a near relative overseas or in Australia who is able to provide care to you, then the carer visa is a very good option too. So it really depends on whether you're eligible for it or not. But yes, other family category 500 visas, that's still not too bad. The processing time for that one is still approximately, depending on which visa category you go for, under the other family category. For carer visa, general processing time we have seen is between 2 to 4 years. whereas remaining relative visa can take up to 30 years as well. That's all about a family visa. So total allocation is 77,300. Now the special eligibility visa, which is 100 allocations, which is for the people who fall under the special circumstances. That's not, generally available for skilled migrants or people who are looking for family visas. Child visas, which is not a part of the ceiling at all. So there is a 3,000 allocations for it, but it's not subject to ceiling at all. So if you have a child who is overseas at the moment and you want to bring your child on a permanent visa, the child visa would be a good option. So this is overall 160,000 visas. As I said, if I see positively, because a lot of people have already cleared from the last financial year's invitation round, especially 190 and 491 program. A lot of people have already got the visa. 189 program as well. A lot of people have got the visa already. And also that the department is not inviting a lot of offshore candidates. Most of the states are not inviting a lot of offshore candidates. So all the allocations is going towards the people who are onshore. So there is a lot of hope for onshore applicants. And I believe that, it will be a little easier compared to the past 1 year or more than, in last couple of years, what used to happen. I think it's more easier for you guys now because, and especially people who are flexible in moving to regional areas, they have a very good chances of getting the benefit of this program as of now, because offshore people are not coming down to Australia at the moment because of the COVID shutdown. So Tejas, over to you again. We can probably move down to state nomination programs where different states have different allocations. If you like, I can carry on with Canberra first.
Yeah, absolutely. We can discuss about the ACT announcement which just came out about an hour ago, and also we can cover up quickly about New South Wales program. Yeah.
So total allocation for Canberra for subclass 190 visa is 600, and for subclass 491 visa is 1400, and for business and innovation stream is 30 visas only. So obviously Canberra has very good allocations for a 491, which is 1400, and for 190, which is 600. And according to Canberra's announcement today, they're going to make small changes to their program under the Canberra metrics. The number one change that they're bringing is they're introducing a small business owner category, like similar to what we have in Tasmania and Queensland. So Canberra is also bringing up that option. Canberra, according to the Canberra's last financial year's report, they had only 16% refusal rate. That means more than 84% or at least 84% people were getting approval. And the reason for refusal most of the times were people did not provide enough documents, did not provide clear bank statements to prove that they moved in Canberra on particular date. They had transactions in other cities after even moving to Canberra. So once you move to Canberra, make sure you do not have transactions in other locations, because if you do, then you're likely to get a refusal because of that as well. Now, as I mentioned, Canberra is bringing up a small business owner category where you need to invest at least, there is no minimum investment, by the way, but you need to have at least $200,000 turnover in the business. Second option, so minimum turnover that is required is per annum and calculated on a pro rata basis if you're applying in 6 months' time. So if you're applying in 6 months' time, you need to show at least $100,000 turnover. You must have a profitable business, obviously. Your business must be paying you the salary as well, at least $26,000 per 6 months. So that is annually $54,000. If you're applying for after 3 months, it's $13,000. And your business can be in partnership, but you should be a majority shareholder of the business. Now for a subclass 190 or 491, you can apply both of them. So unlike Queensland and Tasmania, where the small business owner is only available for a 491 visa program, whereas Canberra has opened the doors for 190 and 491 both under the small business category. You also need to employ one Australian citizen or permanent resident minimum, and for at least 20 hours per week for at least 13 weeks. So that's the requirement for a small business owner from Canberra. That's what's changing from July 2021. Also, they have changed the way you could claim the partners points. So partners employment category, due to the integrity issues, the Canberra government has stopped accepting overseas qualification for a spouse 5 points that you could claim from overseas qualification so far. So now the requirement has changed that your partner, if you're claiming under the qualification, the partner has to have 3 years of full-time continuous study from an Australian institution in any occupation, and they have to have a computer knowledge. If they don't have the qualification, they can still use the employment part where they have to be working in their nominated occupation, or sorry, in any occupation that might still be available. And you can apply, you can still get the 5 points from the partner's work. But the requirement for the qualification has changed now. So you cannot use the Aussizz qualification at all. The next state that we have is New South Wales. With the New South Wales government, the announcement says that total 4,000 allocations has been given for subclass 190 visa. So I'm sure that this year as well, the program will really be fruitful for people who are in New South Wales, because there is a huge allocation of 4,000 visas for 190 visa program. And for 491 as well, these 3,640 allocations been given, which is a really good number again. So in the regional area as well, if you're in regional New South Wales, stick around. I'm sure that you'll be able to get the state nomination from regional New South Wales as well. Now for business and innovation and investment program, the total allocations being given to New South Wales is 2,200. Now New South Wales has also announced today that they will be announcing the new criteria, or maybe they'll also change some occupation list as well. But those announcements will be made in July 2021 anytime soon. The next state we have is Victoria, where the total allocation is 3,500, and for 190 visa, and for 491 is 500. So there is a huge allocation for subclass 190 program as well in Victoria. Now Victoria's business innovation and investment program has total 1,750 allocations, which is again a good number. Now, if you're in Victoria, Victoria is going to start accepting the ROIs from 7th of July. So be ready with your documents and everything. You can lodge your ROI from 7th of July onwards. So definitely Victoria is also a good option for candidates who are living and working in the nominated occupation in Victoria. Now, Victoria has not really mentioned much about the occupation list. So we will still, consider that they will accept most of the occupation. However, the priority will be given to the occupations which are helping fighting in COVID. Now, the next state is Queensland, where the total allocations given is 1,000 and for 190 visa, and 1,250 for 491 visa, and 1,400 for business visas. Now, Queensland's last known criteria, they haven't announced the new criteria yet, but the last known criteria for 190 was that you have to be living there and working there for 6 months in your nominated occupation anywhere in Queensland. Whereas for 491, the requirement was that you have to be working minimum 3 months. And also they have a small business owner program. So out of 1,250 for 491, the 500 visas have been allocated to small business owner category. So definitely Queensland is going to have a lot of small business owner category approvals as well. So if you do plan to go to Queensland and purchase a business, that's a good option. Tejas, would you like to take the rest of the states forward, or would you like me to take it forward?
Yeah, that's fine. So we can cover up from Northern Territory. Obviously, NT has been allocated 500 each for 190 and 491 both. Obviously, non-criteria for NT, they primarily focused 190 for the NT graduates. So if you have studied more than 2 years completely throughout any Northern Territory-based institute, then you should be able to get 190. If not, then obviously you can get 491 as well. Anyone who is moving from interstate or directly from overseas, they prioritize more of 491 only. They either require, for some of the occupation, they require an employment offer, or they need at least 6 months of experience if you are moving from interstate, even for 491 visa. So it's case-to-case basis, but the allocation has been 500 each for 190 and 491, because again, Northern Territory is a relatively smaller territory. The business innovation and investment is only 75, because obviously their focus is not big on the business visas compared to any other states. So it's Tasmania and Northern Territory and ACT as well. Obviously, the very small allocations for business and innovation programs. Western Australia surprisingly only have 1,100 allocation for 190 and only 340 for 491. To be honest, being not one of the, but largest state in Australia, and having a lot of mines, a lot of activities right now, having small amount of allocations or the active migration program, it surprised me personally. that only 1100 for 190 and for 340 for 491. So I'm not sure how the migration WA will be allocating this particular allocation into different occupations. So there's a chance they might reduce the number of occupation on the list, but it really depends on how the further announcement comes up. They have been allocated 360 numbers for the business innovation and investment programs, which covers up obviously 188 and 132. But keep in mind, both of these visas, the investment visas, are going through a lot of changes. We are still waiting for the department to announce those changes as well, because they are just streamlining those visas as well. The biggest surprise, or obviously the winner out of these allocations are South Australia. They've been allocated 2,600 each for 190 and 491 programs. So that's massive 5,200 allocations for 190 and 491 visa programs, which is second to New South Wales. If you compare these two states, obviously New South Wales is the biggest state with the highest amount of population, whereas South Australia is only fifth time. So if we compare New South Wales population to South Australia, five times higher population, but migration program is very close. New South Wales has 7,640 in total. South Australia is 5,200 in total for skilled migration 190 and 491. So it's good time for anyone who is currently in South Australia, Adelaide, or regional South Australia for 190 and 491. If you are planning to move to here, move to South Australia, then obviously just keep checking immigration essays upcoming requirements. We're expecting some announcements before 19th of July, and immigration essay will open up the portal for the new applications from 19th of July week onwards. Obviously, we'll be announcing more information on our social media channels as soon as we have some updates from them. South Australia has also been allocated 1,000 space for business innovation and investment programs, which is also a good number comparing the other big states like Queensland, Victoria, and New South Wales. So in general, obviously, South Australia has very aggressive and active migration programs for both skilled migration as well as business migration. In terms of the entry requirements for any of these 190 and 491 in South Australia, there are different categories for someone who has studied here as a South Australian graduate, or someone who has worked here as working in South Australia category. Normally, as like other states, obviously South Australia does not prioritize any application for interstate applicant who are currently interstate. And also they are not inviting offshore applicants just like other states because of the ongoing travel restrictions. These can change down the track, but as of now, we have not been informed that when they will be restarting the invitation for offshore applicants, which means it's good for anyone who is based here in Australia, here in South Australia, that they should be getting more priority. Another small state but very good allocation is Tasmania, 1,100 for 190 and 2,200 for 491. Which is very good, especially the students who are moving from Victoria or New South Wales to Tasmania. It's good news for them that at least they have 3,300 allocations for 190, 491 program. So they can expect a good movement in this financial year as well. Especially the big allocations for 491, which also covers up the small business ownership category, which Vaibhav covered up earlier as well for Tasmania. But this allocation clearly shows the priority that obviously the Department of Home Affairs and the federal government wants to push and develop more of the regional areas, including South Australia, Tasmania, part of the Queensland, part of the New South Wales as well. So if you look at New South Wales, a lot of RCBs there, they want to keep pushing them to grow further as well. Small allocation of 45 only for business innovation and investment programs for Tasmania, because obviously they're more program focused on the skill migration only. So overall, obviously New South Wales is good. If you are in regional New South Wales, Queensland is good for small business ownership category. South Australia very good for 190, 491 program. And Tasmania is also very good for 190 and 491 both. Do you also want to quickly cover up from your side, Vaibhav, about the Victoria's announcement yesterday? They've announced some priority sectors as well for their 190 program. They've also removed the minimum experience requirement, which they had before for 6 months for 190 and 3 months for 491. Now I think they're changing their focus on completely the priority sectors post-COVID. So they want to see how they can best support the industry in those growth sector. So if you quickly want to inform our viewers which sectors are there and how you think they will be assessing those ROIs once they start accepting the new ROIs in this financial year.
Sure. So Tejas, I think Victoria, obviously, because they have changed their occupation list as well, and then how they mentioned that they're going to have a separate improvised process for a Victoria state nomination. So definitely, it's going to help candidates who are in Victoria, and it opens up more options for people who are studying and living in Victoria, right? So definitely, I believe that Victoria is going to definitely help candidates in getting the state nomination. Now, with regards to the occupation list and the reduction in the work experience requirement, yes, while it is removed, we can expect that people will have a better options, and you can only have one active ROI now, from now on, because they have removed all the ROIs from the history, and now you can only have one active ROIs. So you cannot have multiple ROIs as well. Now, with Victoria, I guess, once they start selecting, we will know the trend and patterns, and then we will be able to, judge better that how the invitations going to flow. But I'm sure that, with the upcoming changes and new changes, Victoria might be one of the states where students would like to probably move, or if they're there already, it will improvise their chances of getting the state nomination.
Yeah, so they also covered up, I think, even if your occupation might not be critical, but your industry, as in where you're working, it's meeting their core sector focus, then they will be still accepting those ROIs, and they might accept as well. Yeah.
Yes, and also now that so the government has also changed a primary migration skill occupation list, and there are total 41 occupations on the new list, where they have added accountants, management accountants, taxation accountant, auditors, surveyors, cartographer, other spatial scientists, civil engineers, geotechnical engineer, structural engineer, transport engineer. A lot of engineering occupations have been added, even electrical engineer, mining engineers, and medical laboratory scientists have been added, petroleum engineer has been added. So all these occupations has been added on a priority occupation list as well, which includes chef as well, by the way. There were already software engineers, some IT occupations were already there. Some has been added as well. In ICT security specialist has been added, social worker has been added. So I think primary, priority migration occupation list will also help in terms of employer sponsorship visas, because the priority migration occupation list will give a priority for the applications under the employer sponsorship schemes, right? So this will really help candidates as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think what the government might be also looking to do is try to push the applicants in this particular occupation through PMSOL, through employer sponsorship 186, 482, 494, or any other employer sponsored visas. Whereas try to attract the very high skilled applicant through GTI visas as well, the Global Talent Independent Program, and try to balance the overall migration program through that way, that they are not just flooding in the skill select through 189 only, as in the point base only, where they're just trying to distribute overall migration through employer sponsored visas as well as GTI, and balance the state nomination as well, to make sure that enough people are moving into regional, and regional areas are also growing in general. So that's overall good strategic move from the Department of Home Affairs in regards to this PMSOL as well as the state allocations.
Right, and do you think closure of, because the borders are closed, closure of these borders will help onshore candidates in securing their PR faster than that they would have generally?
Absolutely. Look, to be honest, as far as the offshore nominations are closed for most of the states, obviously to meet the allocations they have, the targets they have, obviously they will try everything to make sure that they use those numbers. So they will obviously eventually adjust the entry requirements. So giving you example, if I give you example, let's say in South Australia, the engineering occupations required 3 years experience in the past. even for the 491 nomination, whereas now, because the offshore nominations are closed, they have revised the occupations, they have revised the entry requirements in February, and even with 6 months of experience in South Australia, you can get 491 in most of the engineering occupations, or I think all of the engineering occupations as well. Some occupations are even eligible for 190 with 12 months or 18 months of experience, whereas it was not there for 491 as well before. Which means obviously to meet those allocations, let's say 2,600 for 190, 2,600 for 491, they will try everything to give every chance to the local graduates, the SA graduates or New South Wales graduates from regional or Victorian graduates, that they get 491 or at least 491 or 190, because they've studied there, they've shown their commitment to the state, and they are contributing to the local economy. So if you I personally believe next 6 months or 12 months, as long as if the offshore nominations are still closed, then anyone who is based in that particular state should get priority, and they should be able to get the PR faster. This is a very good time for students who have struggled before, and they can achieve their dream of getting the permanent residency.
Very true. And I think, when you select a state where you need to move, let's say if you want to move, you should also look at the current allocations to the state nomination programs. Like, for example, let's say if I'm moving to a state and my target is 491, and I'm moving to a state where the allocation for 491 is very less, right? Then my chances of getting the 491 nomination from that state goes down as well. So I would probably suggest students, when they make their choices of the state, do not just listen to an agent, like even including me, do not listen to me, but look at the number, think about logically that if the state has only 500 allocations, and if I go to that state and stay in a regional, yes, I might be working in my occupation, but I might not get it because there is a population there already in the regional area, and I'm going and competing with them as well. But then allocation is only 500. So where there are more allocations, I would go to that state. Like, for example, let's say South Australia, where there are 2,600 allocations for 190 and 2,600 for 491, right? Whereas if you plan to go to NT, there are only 500 allocations each state. Yes, at the same time, you also look at the population, but I guess NT had a lot of applicants recently moved from Sydney and and other states as well. So I'm sure that they will have that many candidates already in their pipeline. So I guess moving to NT for this financial year wouldn't be a good idea, for example. Right? This is what I would advise to a lot of people. That do not.
It's also depends on obviously your occupation as well as
Yes.
that particular nominating state's overall economy. I would recommend the same thing, but obviously I would also look at the job statistics or overall number of people in that area as well. As you might have seen the announcement from ACT that they already have nearly 1,600 people on their metrics with more than 65 points already. But they also mentioned that most of them are accountants, which means they're not going to nominate all of them anyway.
That's correct.
So if you see a lot of accountants just moving into ACT or Tasmania, then obviously not all of them will be end up getting the state nomination. But if that cohort is distributed throughout the country, some has went to Northern Territory, some has come to South Australia, some in Tasmania, some in ACT, some through SBA program in Queensland, then yes, there is a good chance that most of them will achieve their dream of either 491 or 190. But then also look at the statistics about the jobs as well. Let's say if you're a health professional and you might get a job quickly in South Australia, then you have a good chance for 190 as well. Western Australia does not, let's say, nominate most of the RNs, whereas South Australia nominates all of the RNs, ENs, everything. So if you're a WA graduate, even if you move to South Australia and try to secure an employment here, you will end up getting 190 or 491. So those factors, as in your occupation, which state you're preferring because of the overall economy, their allocations for the financial year program, it does matter. Yes.
That's correct. Yeah. So basically, that's what I'm trying to say, that look at the allocations before you make your move, right? And also obviously consider population, consider job opportunities, because you'll be competing with other candidates. But if you have a job in your field, your chances of getting the nomination is higher. So, but the allocations is less. So I will probably weigh everything together and then decide which state to move.
Yeah, absolutely. And since I think most of the states are also coming up with small business ownership category, because I think they're trying to create job creators rather than job seekers in their states, which means they're trying to create employment through this pathway where you might end up buying a business or creating a business and you might end up, recruiting local staff and stuff. So it indirectly obviously helps the local economy, and also help you with the visa. It's
And,
both the
and I
parts.
think, they just, that also, there are a lot of students entrepreneurs, but they are just not doing those businesses because they're not getting any benefit of doing the business. And now that it will encourage them to do those businesses, because there are entrepreneurs who are on student visas, but they're just hesitant because they don't want to invest money and then end up with no visa. But with this kind of programs, I guess it's going to help those students as well who really want to develop a business. They have a skills, they can generate employment as well, and they will help the economy as well as they will get the benefit of running that business.
Yeah, absolutely. So this program, I think, as far as so far announced by Tasmania, Queensland, South Australia as well in February, and now ACT. So 4 states are already actively promoting this program through small business ownership. And I wouldn't be surprised if obviously down the track, New South Wales Regional comes up with it as well, or Northern Territory comes up with it as well, because eventually they would like to see, if you look at the comparison between the 188, the business visa, and the small business ownership, I think they are trying to fill that small gap, because 188 requires higher amount of investment, which might not be there for a lot of applicants, a lot of candidates, even though they might have a good amount of experience to manage the business, but they don't have that capital, as in to invest $500,000 or $800,000. But they might have $100,000 or $200,000. So this kind of visa programs will be definitely very helpful to this kind of applicants who have skills, who have knowledge to run the business, and they have a small amount of capital to invest into that particular state as well. So definitely, guys, if you have a skill assessment, you have 65 points on the point table, and you look at which business might be suitable for you, you should definitely explore any of these 4 states where they have announced this business ownership category. It's going to be very good, and less competitive as well, I would say, compared to anyone who is applying under this more normal the employment pathway. Because if you look at, let's say Queensland, 10 accountants might be applying from regional area, but 1 accountant is applying for small business ownership. Obviously, they will prioritize that particular applicant because he or she has already generated that employment. He or she is already managing that business from 6 months. He has created that impact on the local economy as well. So obviously, these kind of applicants, they will get priority. States will be looking after those applicants for sure.
Right. And do you really want to tell our viewers that, about our other products as well, like, PT tutorials and CCL tutorials, if you are preparing for English language test or CCL test?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think everyone knows, to be honest, that what they should be targeting is obviously high points. If you want to achieve the high points, you can go on our website, and you can also download our app, PT tutorials or IELTS tutorials. And also, if you want to get further high points, you can do your NATI as well. You can download our app, ACCL tutorials. We also provide online coaching for English, as in IELTS, PT, as well as NATI online coaching as well. And you can also explore options through professional program if you have graduated from IT, accounting, or professional or engineering as well. Obviously, professional program is going to be helpful for you to either get a skill assessment as well as the employment point of view as well. So it really depends on your ultimate goal. You need to choose the right product for you, and you also have to create the right career pathway for you.
Right. And I think before we go, we can also probably, as my closing statement, I would say that, guys, yes, this financial year, I'm sure that I'm really hopeful that it's going to be a really good news for a lot of people who are in Australia, especially. If you're offshore, I think it's going to be a challenging for you. But then if you're onshore and if you make right decisions now, I'm sure that in the next 6 to 12 months time, you will be able to secure your 491 or 190 nomination. So I guess, you need to make the right choice, have a, deep thinking about how we can proceed further. There are many ways each case has, it's just that you need to choose the right case or right pathway for yourself, which is easier as well as possible, realistic ways to do it, rather than a lot of people come to us and say, hey, I want to study another 2 years in a regional area, but they already have studied here 2 years. You don't really have to spend money on studying the entire 2 years again, unless your studies that you have completed before is not giving you skills assessment. Then you might really want to study, but otherwise you can, simply use that skills. Let's say accountants as well. I would say for accountants, there are a lot of hopes now. Go to regional New South Wales, go to South Australia, go to Canberra, go to Tasmania, go to Queensland. like Tasmania and Queensland, you can even have a business, right? And meet their state nomination criteria. You will definitely be able to secure something for yourself as well. IT graduates who are not able to get good points, you guys can go out in the regional areas and meet the state nomination criteria to get the state nomination. I guess it's a really, I am really hopeful for this financial year, because there are a lot of good things that I can see in this planning level, and especially the allocations are really good. So I'm really hopeful for every one of you, and I'm really wishing very good luck for your state nomination programs or your skill visas, your English test and CCL test. And if we can be helpful to you, please reach out to us.